Star Trek spent years setting up Starfleet Academy before Paramount Plus' newest show. In recent years, Star Trek has been focusing more on stories involving Starfleet Academy, setting up the franchise's newest upcoming show, Star Trek: Starfleet Academy. The idea of Starfleet Academy has been around since Star Trek, the original series. After Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, producer Harve Bennett planned a movie about a young James T. Kirk and Spock at Starfleet Academy, referred to as Star Trek: The Academy Years or Star Trek: The First Adventure, before it was scrapped in favor of making Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country. In Star Trek: The Next Generation, Wesley Crusher Will Wheaton attended Starfleet Academy, and the USS Enterprise D visited him after a flight accident resulted in a student's death. Star Trek: Deep Space Nine and Star Trek: Voyager both regularly mention the Academy, as Starfleet officers reference their time there. Considering how important Starfleet Academy has become within Trek lore, it is odd that Star Trek has not already made a television series or film dedicated to it. However, Star Trek on Paramount Plus series have been gradually laying the foundation for Star Trek: Starfleet Academy. Star Trek's Admiral Picard and Janeway set up Starfleet Academy years before Paramount Plus's new show. After the events of Star Trek: Picard Season 1, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard Patrick Stewart returned to Starfleet and was appointed as Chancellor of Starfleet Academy. At the beginning of Star Trek: Picard Season 2, Jean-Luc delivered a welcoming address to the newest class of cadets in 2401. In his speech, which foreshadows Jean-Luc's Picard Season 2 journey, Picard points out that Elnor Evan Evagora is the first full-blooded Romulan to attend the Academy. Holly Hunter portrays the Chancellor of Starfleet Academy in the upcoming Starfleet Academy series, but this role could have changed significantly between the 25th century and the 32nd. In Star Trek: Prodigy, Admiral Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew took the teenage crew of the USS Protostar under her wing, helping them gain admittance into Starfleet Academy. Despite their unconventional introduction, Janeway saw the potential in the Protostar kids and convinced a Starfleet tribunal to drop any pending criminal charges against them after Prodigy Season 1. Dalrymple Brett Gray and his friends then served as Janeway's warrant officers in training aboard the USS Voyager A. Janeway and Captain Chakotay Robert Beltran later granted the Protostar kids field commissions and assigned them to the USS Prodigy. Star Trek: Discovery directly set up Starfleet Academy as a spin-off. The USS Discovery arrived in the 32nd century at the start of Star Trek: Discovery Season 3, sending the series further into the future than any Star Trek had gone before, where Commander Michael Burnham Sonequa Martin Green and her crew found a decimated Federation and an almost non-existent Starfleet. Throughout Discovery's third season, Burnham and Discovery's crew helped the Federation rebuild and reconnect with Starfleet. Thanks largely to the actions of Discovery's crew, Starfleet Academy reopened in 3190 after being closed for 125 years following the burn. In Star Trek: Discovery Season 4, LT, Sylvia Tilly Mary Wiseman led a group of Starfleet cadets in a team-building exercise, after which she became an instructor at Starfleet Academy. Although Discovery did not follow Tilly's Academy teaching journey, Mary Wiseman has already been tapped to reprise her role in Star Trek: Starfleet Academy. With Starfleet still recovering from the burn, Starfleet Academy will follow a new class of cadets as they navigate becoming adults and face a new enemy that threatens the Federation. The Discovery series finale provided a direct setup for Starfleet Academy, jumping ever further into the future to show that the Academy continues to thrive. From the very first time Captain Kirk flashed that iconic grin aboard the USS Enterprise, fans of Star Trek have long been captivated by the promise of a future built on exploration, cooperation, and daring curiosity. And while warp drives, phasers, and Klingon diplomacy have made up much of the franchise's on-screen action, there's always been a quiet, tantalizing curiosity about where it all begins, not among the stars, but at Starfleet Academy. Now, with Paramount Plus launching its latest installment, Starfleet Academy, the franchise finally turns its gaze to the hallowed grounds where future captains, engineers, and diplomats take their first steps into the unknown. But this new show didn't materialize out of nowhere. In truth, Star Trek has been laying the groundwork for Starfleet Academy for decades, subtly weaving it into its mythos, shaping its mystique, and teasing us with glimpses of the lives that preceded the bridge crew glory. Go back to the original series, and you'll catch brief mentions of Kirk's Academy days. Anecdotes about Academy legends, pranks, and infamous instructors surface like fragments of a larger mosaic. But it wasn't until Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, that the Academy truly stepped into the spotlight. The film opened with the Kobayashi Maru test, a no-win simulation designed to probe the moral fiber of cadets and reveal what kind of leader they might become. That single scene became legend. It didn't just define Kirk's character, it defined the ethos of the Academy itself. The next generation doubled down on the Academy's importance. We followed Wesley Crusher's turbulent journey toward admission and later saw Cadet Cito Jax's rise and tragic fall. Episodes like The First Duty not only gave us insight into the institution's structure, but also its ethical compass. Starfleet Academy wasn't just a school, it was a crucible, a place where principles were tested as fiercely as skills. Deep Space Nine and Voyager added to the lore, portraying the Academy as both aspirational and selective, a dream for many, achieved by few. Even characters like Nog, the Ferengi-turned-Starfleet cadet, demonstrated how the Academy served as a bridge between cultures. It wasn't just a human institution. It was the Federation's beating heart, where ideals became action. And then came Star Trek, Discovery, and Strange New Worlds, both of which further deepened our interest in young Starfleet minds. Characters like Sylvia Tilly, with her fresh perspective and unfiltered ambition, brought that student energy to the forefront. The audience could feel it. A Starfleet Academy show wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. Behind the scenes, it was clear that Star Trek's creators were thinking long-term. The franchise began subtly shifting toward a multi-generational lens, not just telling stories of seasoned officers, but of those in formation. Starfleet Academy became more than a backdrop, it was a promise. A promise of new beginnings, of untapped potential, of the next great captain yet to earn their pips. Now, with Paramount Plus Starfleet Academy, that promise takes center stage. The series promises to deliver a fresh tone, one that mixes the high-stakes drama of Starfleet missions with the universal growing pains of youth. Think less boldly going and more boldly growing. This isn't just about alien diplomacy and starship mechanics. It's about friendships, rivalries, identity, and responsibility. Set against the backdrop of a still recovering Federation, Starfleet Academy will likely explore what it means to rebuild, not just institutions, but ideals. Who gets to wear the uniform in a fractured galaxy? What does the future look like after galactic trauma? And how do young minds wrestle with the pressure of legacy while forging their own paths? The beauty of Starfleet Academy lies in its dual nature. It's both a culmination and a fresh start. For longtime fans, it's the fulfillment of years of subtle setup. For newcomers, it's a clean entry point, a look at the Star Trek universe through the eyes of characters who, like them, are just beginning to understand the world they've stepped into. Paramount Plus may be launching a new show, but it's doing so on the foundation of decades of storytelling. Starfleet Academy isn't just another installment, it's a realization of a dream planted long ago. The Enterprise may have carried legends, but the Academy made them. And now we finally get to walk the halls ourselves. Want this adapted into a script, article format, or need a version with a more humorous or dramatic tone? Paramount Plus may be launching a new show, but it's doing so on the foundation of decades of storytelling. Starfleet Academy isn't just another installment, it's a